Small towns in northern Italy, something happens. Florence, Venice, etc. Now you think of the Renaissance just as some sort of an artistic movement. It's not. It is actually an opening of mind. It's a rebirth. And it happens in every field simultaneously. So what is the great contribution of Florence to the world? It's actually double entry bookkeeping. It was a banking hub. Venice was the stock market. It was a commercial hub. The art that you see is actually something that they did on the side. It's also about the same time that Galileo is breaking out of and creating new forms of science. It's Leonardo da Vinci. He is not just doing art, he's also doing these engineering projects. So this breaking out is actually a mindset. And what I am attempting to do is to break out and create this mindset. We need to have this mindset.
So this also fits in with the overall theme of Atmanirbharta, the Prime Minister, this government often talk about. But there are many who would raise a question as to how is this Atmanirbharta any different from self-reliance, for instance, that previous Prime Ministers and governments spoke about here in India?
Fundamentally different. So the 1950s Atmanirbharta is born out of fear that we can't compete, we need import substitution. Here that is not the case. We want to create capabilities here. We don't mind foreign, in fact we encourage foreign companies to come here. This is not about protecting the ambassador car. Right? We want to compete in the rest of the world and capture markets. We just want these capacities to come up here. Also, we don't, when we say Atmanirbharta, what do we mean? I'll give you an example. We have a pharmaceuticals industry, globally competitive. Now, during COVID, we discovered that this great pharmaceuticals industry is totally dependent on single foreign sources for its inputs. Now, that is a serious threat to our resilience. So if we want to be resilient to these supply chain risks, and happened with chips as well, then we need to have certain amount of capacity that is here. Now, if we were Singapore and we couldn't create capacity in every sector, then I understand. We are India. We can create large capacities in all kinds of sectors, including manufacturing. So this is the reason we are thinking about it in this way. But it is a thinking which is based not on defense, but on offense.
Right, right. Also, if I can take a contrarian view on this issue of culture, there are those who say that, of course, it's very important that we are confident about our culture, about our civilization roots, and we've seen a lot of emphasis on that. But there are also those who say that if we emphasize too much on that, for instance, there are violent events that we all know that took place after 1992, if these sort of thoughts are taken to an extreme, do you think that is a valid concern?
See, everybody is concerned on nationalism. We'll go back and say, oh, look, what happened with the Nazis or something like that, right? Now, look, the Europeans have much to answer for their nationalism. They should answer for it. Our nationalism is based on rebuilding our country and our civilization. In fact, much of our nationalism grew out of resistance to their colonization. Why do we have to be apologetic for their crimes? Let them be apologetic.
Right. Right. Also, recently there's been, you might have seen some of these articles about billionaire Raj, which today saw even Mr. Yechuri tweeting about. The allegation or the presumption at that point of time is that, all of this, with all that we've seen over the last few years, have created a sort of situation where income inequalities are at an all-time high. This is the argument. And they are comparing this to the colonial times. How would you as an economist look at this particular claim that has been made? Is this even factually borne out in your view?
First of all, that study which Piketty and company have done is actually utter garbage. And you know that because in their own report, if you just read the small print at the bottom, which by the way, Surjit Bhalla and Karan Bhasin have published an article about, just read their own sort of footnotes. You will know that, the data they have used to compare different periods are not comparable. So first of all, this is based on utter garbage. But let me take not the study, but the thought into account.